You know what? One of them mentioned that if you're coming to speak to them, come with your lawyer.
Yes.
The legal aspect of investing in properties and also acquiring properties in Ghana is key. We have support and we have cooperation. We are associated with the Ghana Bar Association, and as Anna and Victoria mentioned earlier on, they flew in this morning to come in and support us. From the Ghana Bar Association, can we please see you and show appreciation?
Yes.
Lawyers are not that shy. We have Mr. Oliver Susili. Is that correct?
Esquire.
Esquire.
Please come and take a seat.
He's a barrister and solicitor to the Superior Courts of Ghana and solicitor to the Senior Courts of England and Wales. He lives with us in the community. He invests back in Ghana. And with over 30 years of experience behind him, we call him Uncle Ben. Mr. Bennard Owusu, the senior partner of BWF Solicitors and a property investor with a big portfolio in Ghana.
Hello.
Uncle Ben, good afternoon. Please take a seat. Yes, yeah. I was just casting my eyes around to see if he was around. He's a solicitor advocate, head of the Diaspora Affairs of the Ghana Bar Association, and part of our community. Last year he was here and he helped us so very much. Mr. Evans Amoah-Nyamekye. So he represents us in the diaspora. He represents us back in Ghana, and a good friend and family member. Uncle Evans, thank you for coming. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, there's a lot of seats around there. I've seen a lot of people standing. I don't want you to get tired because this part is juicy. Mm-hmm. So sit.
Find some seats. Come forward. Yeah, come forward and sit down.
People were talking about leasehold,
There's
freehold.
There's one here, one back.
Dotting the I's and crossing the T's. Why do you have to go into a property negotiation with a lawyer? What are some of the things that people do that get us to the wrong side of the law? Do you know that if you are on the wrong side of the law, you can lose all your investment? If you knew, there may be new things that have come as far as Ghana and the UK are concerned. So it's the right time for you to be here. Ladies and gentlemen, allow me. My legal friends are here. No, if I say learned, I should be part of it. So our legal friends. You see, I've been schooled. So my colleagues are here. My legal colleagues are here. My learned friends are here. I'll be called to the bar very soon. If for not this program, I would have been on TV interacting with Mr. Owusu. So I'm learning.
I wanted to say that it seems like a lot of times the cost of legal puts people off, but it costs more, way more, when you fall into trouble. And we've had so many instances. I think the first thing I would ask is, why is it important that if you're thinking of buying property, take legal advice, pay, so that, why should you pay? Why can't I just go buy and go home?
First of all, I would like to extend to you regards from the Ghana Bar Association. From the Ghana Bar Association, particularly coming from the president in the person of Yao Achampon Boafo. He thinks this program is laudable and needs to be given every support by the Ghana Bar Association. That after all is a diasporan thing for Ghana, and we cannot talk about economic development without mentioning the diasporans. When I heard M&M and Gold Key banter here, they reminded me of Eminem, the musician, huh? So they were rapping. And then he said something like, a door is not necessarily good because it is expensive. And if the key is gold, then how much is the door? Anyway, but the interesting part of it is when the gentleman in the middle appealed to you that come with your lawyer. For me, I think that is very crucial. Then again, I heard Eminem. Qualified what will be a reliable real estate. He talked about quality, aesthetics, and a few others. But he did not mention litigation. I would like to say that quality, the security of an estate, a real estate, is very important. The security comes in two phases. The normal security that we talk about, if the building is in a certain place that has a history of armed robbery and murders and all that, then surely it's going to have an effect not only on your business, but on the price, let me say, on the price of the estate, and by extension on your business. But then again, it has been the issue, and I would set out a few examples as we go on, that litigation has devalued properties more than any other thing. You see, it is in our practice, and I have come across a lot of frustrated developers, not only the developers, but the buyers too. Litigation. It is worse off than any clinical depression, believe me. And if there is anything it will give you that, but will not end, it might even kill you. So that it is always very important that we look at the legal parameters surrounding these real estate businesses very well. In fact, it should be paramount. I have heard you talk about prices and all that. And all what I heard here, this is a concern that I would like to chip in. I heard cantonment and the ridge and the posh areas. It makes me wonder if real estate is exclusive to the rich. I don't know if it's exclusive to the rich. I would give you an example of how litigation has frustrated some people very, very seriously. I am even currently doing a case. Yes, I'm currently doing a case. I would just end with this case, then I'll let my seniors also continue. Where lands with questions were sold to a supposed real estate developer. And you know that the industry, there is an influx of real estate developers. And that is the reason why currently in 2022, there is this Real Estate Agency Act. It is to just clean all that so that quacks don't come and do all that. And their effect, in fact, extends to the land acquisition and even the quality of the real estate, blah, blah, like we're talking about structural issues and that. But we'll come to that later. So please, the legal side of it, let us look at it. It is to the extent that unsuspecting persons who decided to patronize the services of quack real estate people are now begging to buy the land again at a cost that is more than even the land and their houses. And for me, that leaves an issue. I would edit that. Maybe my seniors would like to make some comment.
Thank you very much. I think the question was, why should you pay for legal advice? I mean, in Ghana, price is dictated by the Bar Association. So sometimes there's very little that they can do. In the UK, conveyancing is fairly straightforward because we have uniform systems, regulated systems. Land registry works. Ghana Land Registry, it's not a matter of phone calls. You have to send your clerk to go there. Yesterday, someone was complaining to me that a lawyer is taking 2 years to register a property. Although now in England, we're having similar issues with delay, but not because of fraud. So if you're paying a Ghanaian lawyer, he will look at a Bar Association regulated rate, and that's how they're going to charge you. Those of us who have a dual qualification and have practices in both countries, we've always said that, value and cost are two different things. So that as a value you place on the transaction that you're paying for, that determines how expensive the service is to you. And if you've put a lot of value on what my learned friend has just exposed, then clearly it shows that nothing is expensive. But above all, what you must remember is that you're from the diaspora. You're not even used to what a land title certificate is. People have come to me with indentures, and they, of course, they are not knowledgeable, and they've taken that as said, that, that shows that Mr. A or Mr. B owns the property. So the role of the lawyer is to do due diligence and make sure that he walks you through the processes, and he will then check with the land registry. Even then, sometimes it's not 100%. So the role of a lawyer, and what may be the most costly transaction ever in your life, or one of the most costly transactions, I think it's appropriate that you take a competent lawyer to take you through. And of course, there's costs attached. Thank you very much.
Well, the key expression here is a competent lawyer. That's the more reason why we are happy to have the association with the Ghana Bar Association, and also some of our learned and the more experienced lawyers in the community. Because you need to have somebody who knows what he or she is about, who has the experience. And with this, I would say, Mr. Bennard Owusu, apart from being a lawyer, is also in the industry. He has invested in it. So he knows the ins and outs and what to do and what not to do. Our brother Evans has also had the experience of, I would say, here and there, to be sure that things are done right. Evans, let me ask simply, but before that, let me introduce Vanessa Blythe. Vanessa is the Director of Peace of Mind Services. They are into estate planning and will writing. One thing last year I stressed, and the whole of this year I've been stressing, and I'll be coming to that because it's part of the lifestyle you have to have. So Vanessa will be giving us an insight into that. But Evans, let me ask, what are some of the mistakes people have been making?
Well, first of all, good afternoon. I think when you're talking about mistakes that people make, it's the very essence of just window shopping, going to a store, seeing a dress or a piece of shoes that you like, and buying it without trying it on, only to go home to think and see it doesn't fit you. It's just the same scenario that you have with property. One of the saddest things that you see is that people don't realize that buying a property is one of the most long-lasting things that you can do. And what I don't understand is why people would embark upon that exercise without doing the precautionary measures. What happens is people can drive around Accra or anywhere in Ghana and see a signboard saying land for sale. Phone that number and think for whatever type of reason, you phone that number, you're going to get a reliable piece of property. It's one of the most craziest things you can do. Last year when I turned up here, I think it was the first time I'd been invited, and it was so clear to me that Sister Anna here and her beloved sister had touched upon an amazing and important thing. People were buying property without guidance, and that's the worst thing you can possibly do. So what I decided to do, as you've heard already, is since I've been appointed as the head of the Diaspora Affairs, is give people from this Expo direct access, all right? Direct access, where, and take it from me when I say this, because I don't know how long I'll be in the position for, I won't tolerate it. It's damn right out of order. People in the diaspora work so hard for their monies. The government tell them year of the return and come back home and all the rest of those verses. You invest your money into those situations and then you go back and you find that the beautiful house that you dreamed of is somebody else's yam plot. Unacceptable. It's just unacceptable. So what I did, took Anna, she will tell you, I think it was in Ghana a few weeks ago, days ago, directly to the head of the association that deals with these lawyers. And the reason why I did that is because I want everybody in this institution here to feel comfortable, knowing that if you go to where it's M&M, Clifton Homes, Landmark Homes, whatever key homes, type of homes, whatever type of homes, you're going to have your home. Don't make the mistake of buying one of these pieces of properties, whether it's leasehold, freehold, whatever type of hold. Just get a lawyer to hold your hands and don't make that mistake.
Bernard, you have had that experience, so let me. Okay, you want to add to that? Okay, right, obviously.
There was this issue about an estate developer selling off a house, and there's this flood and all of that. The system is not that loose for you to just come take advantage of people and run away. The eyes of the law is aware of that. We have institutions that will make sure that buildings are guarded in such a way that they will have structural integrity.
Mm-hmm.
If they don't have structural integrity, lives might be lost. Properties will be lost. And so when you being a real estate agent or a real estate expert, let me call it so, you are supposed to do what is required of you. And then the question is what is required of you? If you do not build properly, there are institutions that are responsible for that will examine what you have done if you have gone according to the standards. And so then the report will give evidence that you did not do what you had to do. So then if the buyer has confidence to seek legal relief, well, depending on the council, you will not go free. Now, we have the Real Estate Act and the Real Estate Agency Act. The purpose is to clean this mess. Because it has become an industry where if nothing is done, then the Ghanaian is vulnerable, particularly the diasporan. Because those of us back home, we know so much, and it has been trumpeted, so there is caution. But then amazingly, some people don't exercise enough caution. All in the bid to save some money. As my senior said, legal fees are high. Why? Do you want us to be poor? If you see a poor lawyer, would you be confident to take your case to them? But the solution to it is that the payment is managed.
Okay.
You see, let me tell you something. It is unethical. That is my area. That is my pocket. So give me a little time to talk about it. It is unethical to charge more than what is required by the scale of fees, which is determined by some relevant bodies in the under the Ghana Bar Association.
Well, you could give us some concessions, though.
Oh yes, that would depend, but it will not be below. It's unethical also to charge below. So what we do, and I think that you should know, because if a lawyer is being insistent on payment, you can propose this. Then we can come out with some payment plan that will not be burdensome to you.
Making
Now,
the money but not getting your fingers burnt, for lack of time, maybe I'll ask Bernard again. You have been on both sides as a legal professional and as an investor. How did you do it? What did you do to avoid the mistakes? If you can tell us briefly.
Well, I mean, of course, I'm a lawyer. I've been a lawyer since 1992. And I've walked through, I've built my own house, so I know what is expected. My uncle was a building contractor. My nephew is someone there, his father is a building contractor. My mom is semi-building contractor, so I know what goes into building. My son, who should be here now, he's also going into building. He's actually going to Ghana on Wednesday to take possession of his property. So it's something that it started as a hobby. Started my first property in East Legon, bought a land for $5,000, it's now worth $150,000. This was 1998, I think. But I've always applied caution to what I do, because I know when I went to Lands Commission, to my horror, some of the documents and registered titles were not digitized or electronic. They were paper, and people were jumping over them to go and find yours for you. They will find it. They will find it. I don't know how they do it. Whether it's paper or electronic, they will find it. But I was horrified, and therefore I decided that the best way to go is deal with people like Anna and her sister on point, exactly what you're doing today, go through reputable organizations. I've bought from Imperial Homes, Deftraco Plus, Dania. We're looking at a couple of others here as well. And that way, it prevents some of the things that my learned friend mentioned. He mentioned litigation. You don't want to start litigation in Ghana. It doesn't end. You will start from the High Court. You've all seen the things that go on. You end up in the Supreme Court 20 years later. Judgment upon judgment upon judgment upon judgment. And then money that you pour, it's endless. What my friends do, when they hit, they pay the new owner again. So you might end up paying 4 people. Why do you want to go through that? So Kweku, it's a matter of putting your thinking cap on, deciding that, listen, this is not my field. There are experts there. They've got an organization here. They are reputable ladies, very intelligent and smart people, and they have the passion to help. And if you want to avoid some of the things that we're talking about, don't go there. Somebody might say, I want to buy land. When we decided to build our family home where we live, we bought into an estate, very expensive. I mean, the land, a plot in Airport Hills, I think is about $200,000. But then it gives you that peace of mind that you don't have. But it's not everyone who can do that. There are people who only have £40,000, £20,000, and that's what they can afford. Those are the people that we're talking about. You've got Mr. Anku's properties. Some of them are 45,000. But you want the protection that this particular event gives you. And that is why we are here to support you all the way. Please, as I've always said, Ghana is where we come from. My biggest return on properties is in Ghana, not here. Yes, we've made some money here. My boys own a few properties. We do as well. But the problem is that the returns in Ghana far exceeds that in UK. And that's why I've always looked to Ghana to invest in. Thank you, Kweku.
Sound advice. A round of applause for that, please. Okay. It's always been a problem when we touch on that. Because to some of us, and I say that with a lot of caution, when we mention that we came and we will go, it is a problem. How you are going, you don't know. Because by then, you have your hands on your chest or straight by your side in a 6x6, whatever. You're gone. But your loved ones are left behind. You've gone through all these challenges, paying lawyers, getting Anna and Victoria serving you, and making sure you're getting all the returns on your property, and you've made a lot of money. What happens when you are gone? Because you will go. Who will not? Who will not go? We will all die. True or not? True or not? True or not? It's true, we will all go. But when you go, what do you leave behind you? That's very important. And that should be part of your lifestyle. Think. Do it. What do you need to do? I'll go to Vanessa to give us an insight into that. The lawyers are here. They will help us to understand some of these things and some of the pluses and negatives of all the things that if you do or you do not happen. But Vanessa, what is a will? Why do you have to do it? There's a mic here for you.
First of all, can I just say good afternoon to everyone. And I'm so thankful that I have this slot. So after all this wonderful work that my learned colleagues have done, you now have to sit down and think about the fact that at some point, each and every one of us is not going to be here. So my section is to talk about the will and why the will is important. Now, a will is simply a declaration of what you would like to happen when you're no longer here. And that's basically what a will is. And what a will allows you to do is to appoint and or either executors who then have the responsibility of sorting out your estate. So by that I mean effectively understanding what assets you own, understanding what debts you have, working out if there's tax to be paid, if there's tax to be paid, how much tax should be paid, and also to whom. Because if you're living here in the United Kingdom, and you're domiciled here, then effectively you can be charged not only on your UK assets, but potentially on your Ghanaian assets as well.
That's got us thinking, hasn't it?
Yeah. So I'm really here just to say to you that in all of your planning, you need to take into account what happens on your death. And that's the key message. So I don't want you to think you're dying right now, because you're not. You're still here. We thank God for that. However, you do need, as part of your lifestyle, to be thinking about the fact that if you're engaging in the process of buying property or buying land, you need to consider, if you're not here to complete that process, who is going to complete the process for you? In addition to that, sometimes you may not have died, but you may become ill or unwell during the process of purchasing property and or land. So I'm also here to encourage you, and I'm sure my colleagues here would agree, that it's also important to have a power of attorney in place, because you may very well need someone to complete the transaction for you, either until you recover or you subsequently die. So part of your planning should involve making preparations just in case you don't survive the process of purchase. And that's really, really, really important. And I cannot stress any further than what my colleagues have said already, that title is key. Because what the UK government looks at is what assets you own in your name. They're not concerned in the UK about whether you put the money in or took the money out. That's not what the UK looks at. They look at the title. Whose name is that asset in, and how much of that asset does that individual own? And based on that figure, therefore, you will have to submit paperwork essentially to HMRC, His Majesty's Revenue and Custom, to determine whether or not your estate needs to pay tax. As I said, if so, how much tax? and potentially to whom the tax is due.
Vanessa, I wanted to ask you, sorry, forgive my voice. So I've heard that sometimes it's better to avoid inheritance tax if you've got children. So don't give property to your children. Can you explain a bit more about why you would do that? My voice.
That's okay. Right, so yes, it is about estate planning, but can I just say that it's actually quite difficult to avoid inheritance tax in the UK. It's not that easy, actually. So I'd like to disabuse many of you of that thought. I think what you need to be doing is thinking about how you manage your estate in your lifetime. I think that what you need to be thinking about is the assets that you have, who you want them to go to, when is the best time to actually give that or to present that asset, to gift it to the beneficiary. But I have to tell you, there are rules around that. So, for example, one of the things that quite a lot of parents want to do is maybe gift the property to their children. Okay, so there are rules around that. If you're going to gift your property to your child in its entirety, then you need to make sure that you move out of the property. Because under UK law, you cannot gift the property to your children to live in, and you still maintain a benefit in that property. As far as HMRC is concerned, that's called a gift with a reservation of benefit. In other words, there was no real transfer. It's a sham. So if you're going to give away your property, please make sure that you have a rent book and you have a tenants agreement to demonstrate that the property was physically given away and that you are physically paying market rates for the rental. I say this every year. When it comes to dealing with His Majesty's Revenue and Custom, they will leave no stone unturned because they're looking for money. So I have to agree with my colleagues here. You need to take advice. It's not about not purchasing and developing your portfolio, but it's understanding what you're doing, why you're doing it. At what point do you want to release whatever assets you're gaining? Is it in your lifetime or on death? If it is on death, you need to also take into account that you may have an inheritance tax bill. And that sometimes can mean that the properties that you're investing in, the properties that you want to hand over to your children, may well have to be sacrificed to pay that bill. Because in the United Kingdom, that bill must be settled or arrangements made with HMRC within 6 months of the death of that individual. And let me assure you, they will come to an arrangement with you, but they reserve the right to charge you interest on the outstanding sum of money that's owed for the tax bill. So you need to be clear about what you're doing. Now, some of you here may have already taken steps to add your children to your title. I'm going to ask you to revisit that. Because if you've done that and you've not done that with the correct understanding, what you think you've done will fall apart on your death. Because it's the role of the executors to demonstrate that what you did in your lifetime was done correctly. And if you're not able to do that, that will present a problem. So it's important, if you're buying properties, my colleagues have said, that you have the correct paperwork. Everything is in order. Now, I'm going to reiterate, sometimes it can be costly, but I can assure you that whatever cost you pay in your lifetime, you're going to be negating that on your death. Because the cost of sorting this out later on is insurmountable. You don't really want to go there. So it's really, really, really important that you think about that. And whatever you're doing, take advice. I always recommend to my clients, there are 3 people that you need in your life. One of them is a will writer or a solicitor. Another one is an excellent tax accountant, because on death, you've got to work out the taxes. You need a tax accountant who can help you to understand what taxes do you have to pay and not pay. And the other one is a good financial planner, somebody that can sit down with you and help you to work through what it is you want to do. Now, part of that financial planning could well be to be involved in real estate. Well, that's okay. We have 3 gentlemen here that can help to make sure that when, at the point of your death, that things are in order. If you die in the middle of it, the transactions can either be completed, or indeed, if necessary, if that's what the contract says, that the property can be sold and the finances released to your estate, which means your children or your family members can get it. So it's really important that in what you're doing, you take advice, you understand what you're doing, you understand why you're doing it. And can I say, as much as we love property, we can't take it with us. Okay? We cannot take it with us. So it's important that in all that you're doing, you have a plan. You're buying property. Why are you buying? Are you buying to go there and live? Are you buying for investment? Remember that. Now, you asked me a question, if I can just finish very quickly. I want you to write this figure down. Hopefully, you've got a pad with you. I want you to write down the figure, £325,000. At the moment, that is the amount of money under the UK government tax laws in terms of value of asset that we can give away tax-free. Is 325,000. Anything over that is taxed at 40%. Now remember what I said. If you're here in the United Kingdom and this is your place, not residence, but your place of domicile, you will be and can be taxed on your UK and your worldwide assets.
Well, 325,000.
Can I just finish? Sorry, 1 second. Let me just finish this. So that's the baseline. Everybody in this room, we have a nil rate band of £325,000. That's the amount of assets we can have that we can give away. If you have a property and you're leaving that property to your children, so 2 qualifying things, you must have a property and you're leaving it to your children, then you can claim, your estate can claim an additional £175,000 of tax relief, which means then that you actually have an amount of 500,000. But to qualify for the additional 175, you must have a property and you must believe in that property to your children. The other thing that they've allowed you to do now as well is that you can elect where you want that additional uplift to take place, whether it's on a UK property or in fact on a Ghanaian property. So at the moment, those are the 2 figures that you need to have in your mind. Okay? So it's 325 as a basic amount that everybody has, that has not increased. The government have talked about increasing it for the last 15 years. It hasn't shifted. What they have done is that if you own a property and you have children, and you're leaving that property to your children, not to your nieces, not to your nephews, but to your children, including adopted children and stepchildren, then your estate, not in your lifetime, on your death, you can claim an additional 175. And that's quite important because that can sometimes make a difference as to the amount of tax that you have to pay.
Right. Okay, question time now. Okay. One last thing quickly. I'll go there first, and I'll come back to you next, please.
I would like us to know that tax, if personified, is a very bad old man that nobody likes. Tax law is the only law that does not lend itself to jurisprudence. It does not mind morality. Once it is the law, it is the law. If the tax is that old bad man, then he is the only person who can whisk you from the comfort of your mansion to jail without any effort. So that we should be very mindful of taxes. But you see, let me again, it is not just to chip in humor because it is not funny. Nothing about tax is funny. The tax is just like, maybe for purpose of, it's like the king of your land. You have offended him, and he throws his hand to slap you in the face, and you dodge. That is also another offense. Definitely, the king is going to be very angry with you, even angrier. So that, however difficult or bad the old boy is, he has his weaknesses. And Mommy has showed some of the weaknesses that the tax has. It is not illegal to avoid tax, but it is illegal to evade it. And so the experts know, some of which, unfortunately, she has given to you free, but not all of it. So there is a need, however tempted you are, to seek professional help for your tax issues to be resolved. Your enemies can even hint Mr. Tax on you, and that will not be amusing at all.
Thank you very much. So go to the questions straight away. First.
Hello, hi. Quick question for all of you is surely if you buy a property in a company name and make your children be shareholders, then your tax is going to be a little bit more lenient. Am I correct? Mr. Lawyer. Any of them?
Any of them, okay.
Okay, let me answer first. If you buy property for investment, whether it's in a company or not, it's seen as personal asset. Because it's for investment. Yeah? So even though it's a limited company, you still need to declare it because they want to know what type of property it is. If it's for investment, it's still going to be taxable. It will form part of your personal tax return. When they inherit, yeah.
Okay. The next question.
So she spoke about inheritance, but for tax planning, corporation tax, usually even in Ghana, it's cheaper than personal tax. I think it's 25% and 40%. Yeah, so if you put your assets in a company, limited liability, Ghana, we have two types, unlimited and limited. You can still at least get 15% off instead of owning it, as an individual, yeah. So that's what people do for tax planning, yeah. Yeah.
Thank you. My name is Diane, and I have two questions, please. The first one is, please, what are the taxes associated with acquiring a property? When you've acquired a property, what are the taxes that come with it after you have acquired the property? And the second question is, you usually find in sales and purchase agreements a lease of 45 years with an option to renew for another 50 years. Is there any regulatory body or regulation around the fees that will be associated with the option to renew for an additional 50 years? Thank you very much.
Okay. So the first one you asked, remind me of the question again. Yes, so in Ghana, we pay tax on the legal document, not on the property. It's got a funny name. I think it's 0.5% on the legal document. So the land itself or the property itself, it's not like the UK where the higher the price, the more stamp duty you pay. In Ghana, the stamp duty is on the conveyancing document.
And when it comes to leases, the extension of the lease, this is very crucial, and it keeps coming up. It keeps coming up. Before, the lease period was 79. Some were, because the landowners were not very informed, would even not put any period there. So it's like perpetual. But what the court will do is that when it comes before them, it would be presumed that you agreed for the 79 years or whatever it is. Even it is to the extent that nobody does more than 50 years anymore. Nobody does more than 50 years anymore. That it is subjected to renewal. What you look at is, what is the history of it? How many years? How long do you intend to extend that? That is subject to negotiations, actually. Apart from the figure, is subject to negotiations.
So what I do, and that is my focus, that's one of my major focus. I have bought an asset where it was left at 44 years. But through negotiation, I realized that they've put 15 years aside. Because there are two types of very secured land in Ghana. There's a vested land, which government has interest. It belongs to families, but government is vested in government. And then there's government land. Mostly you get around the old money places, Laboni, Airport, Cantonment, Roman Ridge. So when I go in with vested land and government land, definitely they will go. I mean, Devtraco Plus, they bought a property from my uncle, O.T. Ajimai, And the renewal was very easy. So the government gave us another 50 years. But some people use that as their fallback. So what you need to do, and that's why you need a lawyer, you need to negotiate hard. There is an estate in Ghana. We all don't have the same number of years. I know, maybe I have the longest number of years because I knew how hard I bargained, and they added extra 15 years to the 49 they gave me. It's negotiations, as he said, and these are things I do. But remember that if you don't negotiate well and the time is up, you're not taking that property away. It goes back to the owner, and that's why you must negotiate. You must negotiate. Yeah.
Well, I've got one question here, and that might be the last one because we've run out of time. So I'll give it to you.
Yeah, my question is piggybacking on the lady's second question. And that is to say that, as a diasporan African, you buy land and you get a 50-year lease. You build on the property, you create value in the property, but when you come to negotiate the increase, you are paying for, the investment that you've made to make that land more valuable. So where's the equity in that?
Well, I keep going back to this particular estate. I don't want to mention the name anymore. But it used to be a farm, not too far off Spintex Road, between Spintex Road, Teshi, Nungwa, Airport, Bema Camp. That's where the land is. Some of you will know the estate. It's one of the most expensive areas in Ghana now. A typical property, so $1 million plus in that estate. Now, when the family sold the land, it was a farmland. And the guy who bought it, he bought it as a farmland. He later negotiated and turned it into an estate. And he's now building. They came back. The case went to court. And the court ruled in his favor that, you can't come back and ask for more. But what you've said is true. If you bought a land, as I told you at the initial stages in Ghana, I bought a land for £5,000 at the time in 1999, and it's now worth about $150,000 dollars. If my tenure is up and I'm going to negotiate, he's not going to talk about £5,000. He's going to look at it at today's money. Yes, the work that you've done on the property would have contributed to the area becoming upmarket, and that's what we all want. We all want estates that grow so that your investment will also grow. Unfortunately, that is business, and unfortunately, with everything investment, there's an element of risk which you all must factor in.
Let us be reminded that the court will not do anything to stifle economic development or commerce. The court, you use the word, how equitable is it if you bought land, added value to it, and then suddenly the owner is taking advantage of the silence to make capital of it? The courts would not sit down and see that get done. So the equity, where the law is silent, reasonableness and fairness is what the law uses to measure. And so it's not something that somebody can take advantage of. If you took action, then you have reliefs that will be informed by reasonableness in order not to stifle business. The court never does that.
Well, Evans.
Well, the final word for me really is this. I don't know if anybody in this room has got any issues, any problems, or any litigation, or any aspirations to buy land or to purchase a property. If you are, or if you have those aspirations, and within the next 7 days you all still are alive,
We will be.
most definitely, we pray so, everybody will be. He's here for about 7 more days. He came in this afternoon from Ghana. And the reason why I mention it is this. I know how difficult it is to get hold of reliable lawyers. I know how difficult it is to get lawyers that won't skin your pocket alive because they know you're in a state of desperation. And I know how it is, where you just don't know who to turn to. But all praises to the Most High, Vicky and Anna have found the solution. And take it from me, I can't take on cases like that. I just simply can't, because I don't. But what I can do, and what I have done, and I will continue to do, is back this On Point project, so that you have direct access to these lawyers down in Ghana, and you will not be skimmed with your pocket. So if you need that help, please get through to On Point, and I guarantee you'll get looked after properly.
You get looked after properly. Ladies and gentlemen, a round of applause for our panelists. Thank you very much. And they are around. In fact, tomorrow in the afternoon, we will be having another session, a repeat of this. So please do come back.